possible?
Hey guys, Termix here. I played New World since day one with Bow Rapier, and I have about 2,500 hours on the game. And I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube of people telling you to play Bow like you were a paraplegic. So I'm going to show you the right way to play Bow, especially when it comes to PvP. For your PvE players that may have clicked on this video, it's pretty simple. Just use rapid shot and keep shooting the rapid shot over and over again. That's all you're going to do with Bow anyway. So going over into the weapon mastery, if you're in PvE, really quick, I'm going to break it down. Get rapid shot with the third perk. Rapid accuracy, if 3 arrows hit the same target, your cooldown's reduced by 50%, and if the boss is below 50% health, each arrow will reduce it by a additional 5% on your cooldown. Meaning, if you are spec'd into rapid accuracy, and you are spec'd into closing in, and you dodge roll, and you shoot, and you just keep doing all your abilities, and your light attacks, and your heavies, you will be infinite rapid shot cycling any target in the game, and you'll be maintaining a decent amount of damage, but it doesn't compete with Bleed Rapier at the moment. Bleed Rapier is just the best form of PvE damage. Now, for my PvP players, you have two routes when it comes to PvP. Your first one is going to be your direct damage builds. Direct damage means what it means. It's instant damage. So, we got our pen shots, our rapid shots, our boom arrow. Obviously, evade shot's not an instant damage. It's a evade ability, and poison shot is just simply a dot. Going over into what I think you should use. If you're using bolt caster, which is the artifact bow, rapid shot, pen shot, and boom arrow are going to be your best friends, though you can separate pen shot and switch it out for any of the other three. Some people don't like running these three because it does lack mobility and it lacks damage over time. If you don't like boom arrow, for example, put on poison shot for the dots. If you don't like pen shot, put on evade. If you don't like boom, put on rain. Swap them out, but keep rapid shot. In this current bow meta and the way New World is at the moment, especially now with the gear score increase and the crit hit damage changes, rapid shot is still going to be absolutely needed, and I would recommend on your weapon to get the penetrating rapid shot perk, and that perk will ignore a portion of the target's armor. Really good on Boltcaster if you so happen to have the resources to do so, but if you're not using Boltcaster and you have something like Syncretic Bow to optimize damage, you actually want that perk on your boots or your gloves, and it will do a reduced amount. I believe it's only 22% compared to the weapon's actual 38% or 33%. I know there's some changes. It's somewhere in that ballpark, but Boltcaster, run it on the weapon. Syncretic Bow, run it on your boots or your gloves. And a little mini ranking of all these abilities, poison shot is great for dots, but if you're doing war content or anything of that sort, you're not going to get much value out of it due to cleanse pots being a thing, which remove all debuffs. Evade shot, this is mainly for small scale, like 3v3s, maybe some OPRs if you want to single out people in 1v1s. Really fun skill, really fun open world skill and skirmishing ability, but I would not use this in a war sense or a large scale PvP sense because you're not going to get much value out of it unless, of course, you are skirmishing. Rain of Arrows is pretty simple. It's an AoE ability that deals equivalent damage to a heavy attack, but does not count as a heavy attack. It does 150% on hit. You can get it so it has a nice little bleed that has been nerfed numerous times because the community of fire staffs really don't like when we have something that does damage. And then going over into the hooked arrows for the slow, it is kind of good, kind of bad, depends on what you're doing. Really good in small scale, a little bit less effective when it comes to the large scale. We already went over rapid shot, but if you're using rapid shot in PvP, you have really no reason to run rapid accuracy or final blow. Just because with rapid accuracy, you're never going to really hit the same target 3 times. I mean, if you are with a new aim lock system, but even then, if somebody's half decent with melee, they're definitely going to dodge one of these. And then final blow is just not worth the point investment because it makes the last arrow do 25% more damage. And most of the time when you're in PvP, you're going to dodge and then quickly shoot too, and then roll again because sitting still for that long on light armor bow, you're just asking yourself to die. Because if I do it again, for example, if I'm fighting somebody, I'm shooting, I'm rolling, if I stand still for the whole third shot, that just takes forever. It's absolutely not worth your time in a PvP aspect. I know pen shots can be a little bit controversial because some people really hate it, but I actually love this ability for many reasons. People use it as an opener. I like to use it as a closer because it is 150%, but it passes through targets. So if you're in war and there's a healer that's low health that is behind a bunch of bruisers, you as a bow player have a very easy means of getting that kill on a healer or just a squishy target in general because it is 150% damage and it's boosted by other abilities like long range, which gives you 10% more base, or even finishing shots, which deals 15% more to targets below 50% health. These are probably your two most important passive skills in the entire bow tree because just these two skills alone, if they're below 50% health and if they're a fair distance away, you're getting 25% more damage just for bow existing. And that's not even counting the dodge and power that you get, which gives you another 15% damage bonus. We could also talk about Mark, where you get another 10% damage buff when a foe has a debuff. It could be slow, weaken, bleed, anything like that, which is pretty easy to proc if you have keenly jagged on your bow. And the thing that makes pen shot even better is you can increase the damage per penetration. So let's say there's a healer in the back and there's two bruisers in front of them. That arrow is going to do 20% more damage before it hits the healer because it's penetrating two more people. So when it hits the final person, that damage will be multiplied, and it's only up to a maximum of 50%. But to be honest, most times you're only going to get 2 to 3 stacks in large-scale PvP. And then finally, one of my favorites is Deep Strike. You deal 15% more base damage with this ability. Remember, keyword, base damage, which is a lot better than additive damage. And these targets have to be 20 meters away, which honestly is not that far at all. I don't have my ping system on right now, but 20 meters roughly is from me to that guy right there. Around, I would guess maybe right there is 20 meters, and that's really not too far at all. And finally, Boom Arrow. This one is more of a finisher for me as well, or just get in some free damage. I would say this is your most exchangeable skill because some people don't like Boom Arrow. Some people like I said before, evade, AoE, or just poison shots to be annoying. In large scale PvP, especially war, like I said, the dots aren't going to work out too well for you. Going for the second one, Explosive Arrow now inflicts burn, which is nice to apply a little bit of a dot to finish somebody off. But the concealed detonation is something that's a little bit controversial because it basically halves the radius of the explosion, making it harder to hit, but it does do a lot more damage. I would actually recommend, if you are better at the game than I probably am at times, you could hit all of your shots and the person you're going against does not dodge too often. I know these are a lot of conditions to be met. This is actually a lot better to run, even with the point investment, because you could hit a really big hit on somebody that is stun locked, or somebody on your team has stun locked, so you get that guaranteed hit. So it definitely has its uses, but if you're more of a solo player like I am, you want to use this in such a way to where it's just a free, easy source of damage. Other than that, some sustainability things that are pretty important are Hunter's Insight. You get a instant 5 stamina for damaging somebody that has a debuff, which is very easy to do. And of course, you want to get haste when you swap to your bow. That's going to be your main form of kiting. You just swap your weapons, get haste, dodge, get haste, roll around, use your cooldowns. And by the time it's off cooldown, you could just get your bow haste once again. You can see it by the little cooldown at the bottom. Swap to your bow, and you got the haste once again. Now, as for Rapier, I'm not going to go over every single thing in Rapier like I did bow because it's pretty self-explanatory these days. Hondo and Flourish and Finisher for your bleed builds, but for PvP, I recommend Flèche and Evade, just like I have spec'd here. This capstone is great for more damage. Riposte is okay for at least right now, but Flurry, in my opinion, has a lot more viability and a lot less counterability than Riposte does, because Riposte in its current state, it's not bad. It's just very ping-centric. If your ping's bad, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's easy to dodge, sometimes you can't dodge it. Very unreliable skill, in my opinion. But if it does hit, and you're going against a player that can't break CC, it actually could guarantee a kill. But going over into Flurry, the reason Flurry is so good is if I go over into my character's armor set, or my weapon rather, you can see I have Leeching Flurry. Heal for 60% of the damage dealt, and you gain invulnerability for a half second when you use it. This is creating a lot of scenarios in PvP where you, as a light armor bow, you're supposed to be squishy, but this allows you to tank certain hits and just tank a bunch of melee damage combos and generally be pretty damn annoying. Because let's say somebody's attacking me with a hammer, I could proc the invulnerability with a skill and completely negate that and kind of give me a second to breathe while my stamina regens. And then you have another evade skill on the rapier, and then you have another evade skill on the rapier. Then you could swap to your bow for another evade skill. Then you could dodge for more evasion. I think you see where this is going. You get the point. But if you don't want to take that route with Leeching Flurry, it's more of a offensive thing. And if you're just newer to the game or want to play it safe, then of course, yes, you could put on Riposte. But just be known, the people playing the game that have experience with New World will 100% make you look stupid when you trigger your Riposte and they just wait for it to run out because they know the sound of it by now. But Leeching Flurry is a little bit different because it can't really be countered if you use it correctly. Other than that, some key armor tips I would recommend for bow rapier builds is try to get featherweight as soon as possible. I know there's a lot of artifacts in the game that people are going for with bow rapier and saying are really good, but when it comes down to the brass tacks, a bow player that does a lot of damage doesn't mean anything if that bow player cannot survive it. So having a bow player that's fully evasive, like I've already showcased, on top of that, you're also tanky a little bit. It kind of pisses people off, and it's what you should play to for your best strength, because admittedly, bow isn't as OP as you may think it is currently. There's going to be a point when everybody is geared up, and then bow is not going to be as strong as it is now, because people are going to start speccing against it, and you're going to be very annoyed. So being able to be tankier and survive those CC damage combos is going to be very vital for your endgame. As for your perks, I highly recommend shirking heals if you're a solo molo player like me. If you're not solo, I would recommend more survivability, something for, let's say, health, thrust conditioning, and some other perk that improves your tankiness. I think health is still needed in most cases. I know that's another hot take, but I feel like if you have 5 stacks of health plus health on your amulet, you just have a whole bunch of health, plus you're tankier with featherweight because you could equip more armor. Now, if you don't know how featherweight works or equip loads work, a quick TLDR, when it comes to armor, if you have above 13 pounds, you're a medium, above 23, you're a heavy. When you're a light, you want to get this number as high as possible to get the most resistance in the bottom left as possible without breaking the 13 or hitting 13 itself. Now with featherweight, you can see here, it is weightless. If you have featherweight equipped, you can actually get 12.9, which is the best equip load for light in terms of armor. When you have featherweight, you put on a heavy helmet, light gloves, light legs, and then heavy boots, but you could interchange the boots or the gloves. These can both be heavy, one or the other, but not both. Gloves or boots can be heavy, not both, and then the helmet can also be heavy. So you could swap that out based on the gear you're getting, the gear you want to get. Other key details, you want a ring that has hardy so you have a second dodge without draining yourself. My ring right now is pretty bad because I'm gearing up on a second character. You also want damage, like thrust damage or lightning damage for boltcaster, which is going to help out tremendously. Maybe bleed duration, things like that improve your overall damage. And hardy just makes it so, like I said, when you dodge twice, you still have 10 stamina and you're not completely drained. Amulet, you're going to want health, which is a very vital role. Stamina recovery is also pretty good. When you get hit below a certain health pool, you actually get instant stamina. For the earring, that's a little bit easier. Fortifying Toast is really good right now, and so is regenerating, so you have the constant health regen. And for heart rune, I recommend stone form, the mending stone form that heals you when it comes to your endgame. I just think that's forever going to be the best. It breaks you out of CC, it makes you tanky, you heal over time as it's going, makes you even more unkillable if you know how to play the build correctly. But those are my main tips for all the bow players coming into New World. If you've already experienced bow and you clicked on this video anyway, I do appreciate the view. I appreciate you. And for the new players, stick to playing bow. I know it may seem dumb at sometimes or just unfair with melee sticking to you right now, but I promise you, once you gear up, once you play the game more, bow is going to feel a whole lot better and a whole lot more powerful. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you hit the like button down below as it does spread out my content to more people in the community. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on another video from me, guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you all later.